Participants mute. Mute. Close. Okay. Thank you. Erev Tov, everyone. We had last Monday, so because of constraints of time, there were a few items that were not discussed that I want to finish with tonight regarding the Shiur Chomos. Again, the principle of the Shiur Chomos is based upon the fact that we're only dealing with matters that are the Rabbanan, not the Oraita. The Oraita is taken care of by the fact that we are Mavater B'Chomos. We say, Kol Chamira V'Chamira, all Chomos that I have, that I know about, I don't know about, that all Chomos is both. It's like the dust of the earth. The Minatorah, that's sufficient. There is the additional problem, however, that if pieces of Chomos are left over, so that could be that during Yom Tov, a person intentionally or unintentionally may come to eat it, etc. So therefore, we have to get rid of all of the Chomos. So the easiest way to get rid of it is to get rid of it. However, people who have large warehouses full of Chomos, or homes that have freezers full of Chomos. So because of that, the institution of the Shiur Chomos, which I pointed out, began with a Tosefta that has expanded over the generations, was instituted. So basically what it is that we sell to a non-Jew the Chomos that exists, and that after Pesach ends, we will repurchase it. Now, the non-Jew, in most cases, in other words, Warren Buffett is not buying here. Sure. So the guy that you sell the Chomos to is not really affluent enough to be able to put up cash for the entire purchase. Let's say our shul, we can't even put it selling the Chomos. So I have 200, 250, 300 people. Let's say every person is at least 100 shekel Chomos. So you're talking 30,000 shekel. Already the person that you would sell it to may not be capable of putting up the 30,000 shekel cash. So what happens then? So what happens then is that he pays us a certain amount, 2,000, 3,000, 200, whatever, certain amount of money, and we lend him, the seller lends to the buyer the rest of the money. That's called Zekipa. We lend it to him. So in the end, we're getting 30,000 shekel, but he owes a debt to the seller for the other 28,000 shekel, whatever it is. After Pesach, he comes in and says, pay the debt. He said, I can't pay the debt, it's too much for me. So then we'll say, well, okay, so then I'll buy the Chomos back from you. I'll give you another 200 shekel, so that the reason why is that that's how it works. We all realize that this is it's an imaginary transaction. But we want to make it as real as possible. So in order to do so, there are certain problems that exist. What happens, God forbid, over Pesach, the non-Jew expires? Or you can't find it. So you go want to find it to buy it back. There's nobody to talk to. That's one problem. Second problem is that you're exposing yourself to the manipulations of the non-Jewish world. For instance, in the 16th century, we have Jews that in the Austro-Hungarian Empire by the Habsburgs, there was a non-Jew who owned a brewery, manufactured beer. And there was a Jewish company that manufactured beer. And when it came to the Mechiras Chomet, so the Jewish company naturally sold their Chomet, and the non-Jewish company got a hold of the non-Jew who bought the Chomet, and they bought the Chomet from him, and they refused to sell it back. Basically putting the Jewish ruler out of business. Because if you say it's a real sale, then it's a real sale. And if he pays you back the money of the loan, so then there's no problem. So to avoid this, there was a takana of the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Balatanya, something which remains in force today amongst all Chabad Chassidim, that the sale and loan have another party involved. In other words, not just the seller and the buyer, but there's someone who is called an Orei. An Orei is a guarantor. You've got this loan outstanding. The seller has lent the buyer X amount of money. We have to have someone guarantee back to the seller that he's going to get the loan back. Now, in Israel, for instance, I told it's impossible to get any loan without guarantors. In Halacha, there are two types of guarantors. There's a guarantor that says if the borrower doesn't pay you, I will pay you. That's a weak guarantor, because there you're forced to go against the borrower first, and only after the inability of the borrower to pay you can you go against the guarantor. However, there is something within Allah that's called an Orei Kavlan, which means the guarantor stands instead of the borrower. You don't have to talk to the borrower at all. You go straight to the guarantor. He has to pay. Then it's his problem to deal with the borrower. So the Balatanya said that to make the Mechiras Chomet valid, you have to have an Orei Kavlan that guarantees the loan from the seller to the buyer, and therefore after Pesach, you're not going back to the non-Jew for the money, you're going back to the Jew for the money. The Jew doesn't have the money, so then you tell the Jew that you take the chametz, and then we'll take it from you. Now, this idea of having an Orei is followed by Chabad Chassidim until today, but not followed by anyone else. Because as the rabbi put it in Jane Ladover, so if you want to close all of the possibilities that can exist here, there's no end to this thing. Because what if the guarantor is not around? guarantor for the guarantor. So because of that, therefore, in the regular Star Mesiras Chometz, the way we have it in Shul, the Rabbanut, etc., that we don't have a guarantor. We're dealing directly to the non-Jew. However, in communities where Chabad is very strong, and where the entire community sells that one person sells to the whole community. So basically speaking, we always make an adjustment to allow for the shita of the to be fulfilled and to have a guarantor. Then arises the question, who's the guarantor? So if you take a schnorr, the shul, what kind of guarantor is that? So you got to get Rothschild to be the guarantor. Rothschild doesn't want to be the guarantor. Okay. It opens up numerous possibilities. One more point, and that is what I mentioned before, that since this is a real sale, it's dressed in all of these decorations of nicety, we don't feel it's a real sale, but this halacha, it is considered to be a real sale. So then the non-Jew has the option of not selling back. The heter of the Rabbanut, the heter Masira of selling the karka and their sperm to a Muslim in order to avoid the stringency of the shita. Again, it's based on only the Rabbanan, etc. Nevertheless, one of the points that's always raised is you got to find the perfect Muslim. What if they infiltrate the you and I, and Saudi Arabia says we'll put up the 38 billion. So that holds with the question: who's the buyer here, and who's behind the buyer? I remember when I was the road in Miami Beach, the first test that I was there. So we had a janitor in the shul. His name was Jules. He was an old-time Lithuanian goy. His entire life, he was a janitor in the shul. That was his career. So he was in Philadelphia, the shul, for 50 years. And then the people in Philadelphia retired and moved to Miami Beach, so he moved with them. Then he became the janitor in our school. And he would sit in every class, and he knew everything. So it came time for Mesiras Chometz. I said to Jules, I need you. I want to sell you all the chometz. He said, Rabbi, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. I don't do it. I said, why not? I mean, you can only gain from it, and you can't lose from it. He said to me, my father told me, if the Jews are selling, don't buy. And he never did. So every year I have to find somebody. So there's a certain sense that you have to have as to who the somebody is. First of all, is he going to be reliable? Is he going to show up at it? And does he really understand what's going on? And how cooperative he's going to be. Here in Israel, the Rabbanut has their guys from the Muslim community, and even Christian Arabs as well, that they've used over and over. And it became like a family tradition that they have the chazaka, they have the attribute that they can want, that they're the ones that you sell to. And so you take a look at the chametz that's sold in Israel by the Rabbi it's billions. You're selling Osen, what you're selling? All the hotels, everything. The government, the army. So therefore, they're pretty much controlled regarding who they sell it to and who the buyer should be. One last point is that we always try to sell together so that the amount that's being sold is substantial. So the more substantial it is, the less likely that the problem will be when you want to come back and get it later.
We still think with the rabbi, we don't put down the value of our homes. Like the United States would do that. How do you determine the value?
There's all sorts of things. You have to put down anything. It's not that textbook. It's not helpful that. In effect, you're saying to the rabbinate, you can estimate what it is. You estimate what I am. So again, you should know. Or if you own a tavern, or if you own a whiskey distribution. But the ordinary person, what he's selling, so okay, so you want to check whatever it is, that's the allowance. We don't hear about him to roll with trolls and hammer, or another say the man sit go. Yeah, deal with that.